the second of the two middle school etudes, and we're going to work on the Allegro Giocoso. And similarly to the first one, I'm going to break this up into the music side of things and then the more technical side of things. And so I'm going to walk you through it real quick. There's a pattern in this one that kind of continues through most of the etude here, and it's basically like a two bar pattern. And so so my X is on the downbeat of the second bar, and I've written in a little extra hairpin. Same thing for measures 3 and 4, same thing for measures 5 and 6. And measures 7 and 8, same shape, so so my X is on measure 8, but then I thought, let's do something different, and I'm going to crescendo. So when we get to the key change, I can make a nice sort of color and dynamic change with the mezzo piano. But the same pattern follows here. It's pretty repetitive. So ba-da-da-dee-da-dee-dum, ba-da-da-dee-da-da-dum. And we have the printed hairpin here, which is beautiful. We don't have to write it in. So same thing, X on the downbeat of measure 10, X on the downbeat of measure 12, X on the downbeat of measure 14. And then in 15, like we land on the F, but so that crescendo continues all the way through. So I kind of feel like those last 4 notes, each one gets just a little more emphatic and a little louder. And then the B flat, going back into our original key of F, I have a big arrow in my music that indicates, okay, this is a giant pickup, and then the shape is exactly the same. So I've got hairpins written in, X in measure 18, hairpin X in 20, I have a little diminuendo. I wrote in hairpins in 21, 22, X on the downbeat, and then kind of a big finish there to the end on that final F. I didn't write a ton in for my breathing on this one because we have 2 nice eighth notes every time. So you can kind of expel a little air and take a little in each time if you need to, but I certainly wouldn't take a giant breath every time you have a rest, because then you're going to get too stacked with air and you're going to be super uncomfortable by the time you get to the end. Let me play through this one time and then we'll talk about some of the technical aspects here. So, this is a fun one too, but it's easy to get a little carried away, so you gotta keep kind of checking in with the metronome. So a lot of metronome practice on this one. And I should say, since we're gonna start to veer into the technical side of things, it's better to always take a tempo a little bit under and play it really cleanly and really musically, as opposed to going a tempo and it just kind of being a hot mess. So always go on the side of slow. And when we're working with the faster etudes, it's better to learn it at a much slower tempo and learn it really well with lots of really great musical elements, and then start to speed it up little by little. Because if you go too fast too soon, you end up learning a bunch of bad habits, and it's really hard to undo those bad habits. So let's see, we got a few things to talk about. So there are a number of alternate Fs that are needed in this etude, and I may have missed 1 or 2 here. I've got most of them marked in, I think. So for example, measure 2, I sang the wrong notes there, but going from the G, the F to the D, so we need a forked F or a left F there. I've got another one in measure 6 on the 3rd F. And in the key change, which I've circled, by the way, to remind myself that, oh, I've got an E flat coming up here. That first F at the key change, we need a forked F, and then the last F moving into that second measure there. Oh, that's the one I missed. In that next measure, the D dot D dot D dot 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 dum, that's an alternate F. Measure 12, dot 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 D dot D dum. That one going to the D, you need a marking there. In measure 14, that last F needs to be an alternate fingering. The downbeat of measure 16, when we go back into F major, so that's measure 16, 17, 18, the third F, we've had this music already. That third F needs to be an alternate F, and then 3 measures from the end, same thing there. So I've got a bunch of little pitchforks, little forked F markings here. And then similarly to the key change to B flat, when we go back to F in measure 17, I circled that one too. And in fact, I did that, and then in the second measure, when we have that first E natural, I've marked a natural there because sometimes we forget that we've changed key and we're still playing in the old key. So let's talk about a couple of things with regards to articulation. When this one is played, if you truly play it dotted quarter to 126, that's pretty fast. And I have found that when we have fast notes and they're marked staccato, if we play them really short, it doesn't sound very good. Dog scratching over there. So I often think of these fast staccato articulations as actually being kind of long. Including, we have a lot of slur 2 and tongue 1 figures here. I think of the second note under the slur as being kind of long too. So instead of, you hear the difference that makes? And at the fast tempo, no one's going to think, oh my gosh, they're playing that so legato. It's going to sound articulated, and it's going to sound sort of energetic and peppy just because of the style and the speed. So that's one tip. So you'll notice that I'm playing all those kind of long. So for tia ta ti ta ta ta, I'm making a little bit of a difference in my my tongue strike on the reed for those accented dotted quarters, and a little bit of change in my vowels. So as you notice when I sang tia ta ti ta ta ta, tia ta ti ta ta ta, I'm trying to use a little bit of air accent in addition to a harder tongue on the actual accent. So the judges might be looking for a difference in articulation quality because we have staccatos and we have accents. And then not only that, we have 2 different kinds of accents. So the way that I'm thinking about the 2 accents, so we've got this one and this one, notice that every time we have this accent, it's on a longer note, it's on a dotted quarter. And every time we have this one, it's on an 8th note. And so I'm kind of using the same technique for them, just the 8th note one is shorter. So then it makes it sound different. So for example, so that shorter one just sounds much more clipped, and that's kind of what the composer or whoever wrote this is asking for. So that's kind of how I am interpreting those guys. You may have noticed that through the etude, like the breathing, I may take a breath when I have rests, and I might not. I think that the thing to be careful of, and I said this before, is not to take a big inhale every time you have those 2 little 8th rests. Because you have relatively short phrases, right? They're like 2 and 2 measures put together to make a 4-measure phrase. Take smaller sips, like maybe only fill up a quarter of the gas tank. Don't fill up the whole thing because you're not going to use it, and then it's more work to let the air out. So I took small sips or no sips at all when I had my rest. I mean, I got to breathe at some point, but I'm trying to do minimal amounts because then it's not as much work. And I've also found that when we have a little less air in the tank, we support our sound from a better place, and then everything usually works better because of that. Let me just look through here, see if I'm forgetting anything on this one. It's pretty straightforward. There's really no funny business, no grace notes or anything on this guy. It's just mark in Alternate fingerings, if you want to try the phrase thing, mark in your X's and maybe some additional dynamics, and we'll show you what I've got on my page here. Certainly mark in your alternate fingerings and your accidentals. Circle those key changes. So anything you might forget or kind of be distracted when you're under stress in an audition situation. I think that's it with this one. If anything I've said is confusing or you have further questions, don't hesitate to email me. We'll be sure to have my email up at the end of the videos. I'm just also going to mention when we show the shots of my music, I wrote in pen. That's a big no-no, but I did it so it was more visible to you guys when we showed you my music. But I would always mark my music in pencil, but I had a reason for using pen this particular time. So I hope this is helpful. And good luck on your auditions. Let me know if you have any questions. Alrighty, bye-bye.